translations of Shakespeare, Shakespeare adaptations, and translations of Shakespeare adaptations. To do this, we have three important theater companies with us today. The Tokyo Shakespeare Company, Theater Company Shinhan, and the Shakespeare Company Japan. First, they will read extracts from their Shakespeare adaptations in English. The Tokyo Shakespeare Company will read from The Three Daughters of Lear, Shinhan from Matoka Translations' translation of Hamlet's fourth soliloquy, then a scene from their Hamlet Shakespeare, and the Shakespeare Company Japan, a scene from their new Romeo and Juliet, in a mixture of Scottish English and Tohoku dialect. So, first please welcome the Tokyo Shakespeare Company.
So good afternoon to this mini theater today. I'm reading a scene from the play called Three Daughters of Lear. And it is a story, the aftermath of King Lear. GoNoodle and Regan are in hell, and I'm sure you have no objection to that. And they are being tortured day after day. And then King Lear's fool is now ambassador of King Lucifer, Lord Lucifer, and Lord Lucifer is conspiring to fight against God for the third time. And he is looking for the most evil human to assist him. And GoNoodle and Regan, of course, they have written their curriculum vitae, submitted it, and waiting for the fool to arrive. The scene takes place in the deep reaches of hell, where they are collecting rusted nails. They have to collect exactly 666, but they have never succeeded. They hate each other, but they can't live without each other as well. We started creating this play from the doubt that, was Cordelia really so virtuous? Wasn't she just sick of self-love? Couldn't she say a little bit more to her old father? And another doubt was that, what happened to Lear's wife? They have never mentioned about the mother of these daughters. And the mystery starts from these 2 points, but the scene today is a little bit with laughter and a lot of suffering of these two daughters. I hope you enjoy. And I have asked Professor Shinodate, my dear sister, to join me as GoNoodle and Regan.
Please imagine that this is a huge bucket full of rusted nails. And we don't use mic for the consultants. Really? So, GoNoodle and Regan's punishment in the deep reaches of hell. GoNoodle and Regan, they are both collecting rusted nails in buckets.
Oh no. How many do you have? How now? How many? How now? How goes it? How many do you have? You should at least answer me. Well, how many?
Quiet!
How now?
Peace! You made me lose my count. It's such a hustle to become everything from the start. It's all your fault.
So sorry. This makes 456. 457, 458.
I have completely lost my count.
How unfortunate. 460, 461. How now? What can you do? You run out of time.
There's not enough time anyway. In less than 10 minutes, the ghastly bell will ring and the supervising demon will appear. I can hope to reach 666.
So you say. But unless you carry out the task to the letter, you'll be fed 666 nails.
We will be fed them anyway. Do tell me, dear sister, has there been even one instance since we arrived here that we didn't have to swallow nails?
Admittedly, there has not.
See? This whole thing is a farce to begin with. The demon tells us we will not have to swallow the nails if we collect exactly 666 within the given time. But the bell of deity always tolls when there's only 1 or 2 left. Don't you think that's strange?
Well, put that way, it could be seen as strange.
How long has it been since we have had to collect nails?
Let's see, at least millennia.
Every single day throughout the millennium, we have collected nails, yet not once collected exactly 666. We have not once avoided having to swallow the nails. Don't you think that's strange? Don't you think we could have succeeded at least once? Why do we have to continue this absurdity?
It's our punishment. Naught can be done.
I understand it's our punishment, but do tell, what does this all mean?
How should I know?
If the objective is to inflict the pain of swallowing nails, why not do so from the beginning? I don't know whose idea this is, but it's simply absurd.
Naught could be done. Hell is absurd. You must have realized long ago that demons and devils are all dunces, dim-witted simpletons. But when it comes to executing ridiculous orders to the letter, they are moronically earnest. It's best to resign yourself to this.
Since arriving here, I've resigned myself to many things beyond times over, but I cannot bear this absurdity on top of that. I am not as stolid as you, dear sister.
Why you want to talk anyway? I witnessed a punishment the other day. Synchronized swimming. In a dark heat all day long. This was without earplugs. Our punishment is as bad as hers.
Secret gossip. Yesterday, I thought for once I had collected exactly 666 nails, and with great confidence took them to the demon. The demon carefully counted each nail, and when he reached the 666th one, it suddenly broke in half. What the first demon then said was that it took 667, and so I had to fulfill the task. It needs to be exactly 666, but how close you were. He smirked as he filled my mouth with nails. I can't be bothered anymore.
What are you going to do?
As I said, nothing. Collect the nails or not, the result is the same, and so there is no sense in struggling to it.
My, you really have decided not to care. What goal? You to live up to your childhood name, half-hearted revenge. But aren't you afraid? Who knows what will be done to you for slacking off like this?
What more can they do? I would very much like to know. I swallowed 666 nails, and that's not even the worst part. Boiling lava is a chaser for these nails. Then I'm placed in ice 7 times, burned 7 times, then buried alive. After 3 sets of that, another 3 sets of being devoured alive by dogs, pigs, alligators, lions, rats, cormorants, and these snakes.
You still have it easy. On top of all that, I am decapitated with a sword 10 times every day.
Yes, I have my eyes gouged out 20 times. It's no better.
Yes, there's a new demon in charge of decapitation. But this one's a novice and constantly incompetent. He says to me, if it hurts, let me know. Since he goes about it gingerly, it's distressing.
It's not easy being a demon. Who has such a thick neck, sister there? It's easier decapitating a boar.
Hang! The demon in charge of gouging out your eyes was rejoicing at how easy his task is. Apparently, your eyes fall out with a simple blow to the back of your head.
Let me be.
Really?
By the way, dear sister,
What?
how many is that?
Look. How many was that? It was 456. Then 7 following that.
It's
Oh.
470.
Of course, that's right. 470. 471.
I was just joking.
Don't speak to me. I lose track. What did you just say?
I was just jesting. I made up the number.
How dare you?
I blurted out a random number. You've now lost track. How unfortunate for you.
What a deplorable human being you are.
I stopped being human long ago. I'm a dissolving piece of flesh, worthless and working crawling at the bottom of the bag. Now I'm going back to collecting the nails.
What is this? Gingerbread? What are you doing?
So I had exactly 500, and this is 501.
Oh, you've kept count.
What did you think? I'm not going to be fed rusty nails. 504, 505. Don't speak to me, otherwise I lose count. I must collect exactly 666 nails. 506, 507.
How soon did I give up? I'm giving up. Give me a fact, won't you?
Absolutely not. Smoke one of your own.
You wretch. Look here, I've been thinking since coming here. I've faced all manner of frightful things. Are you listening?
Even if I wanted to ignore you, you're so loud that I can't help but hear you.
Is that so?
And what is it you want to say?
Nothing.
You were trying to say something.
Are you curious?
No, I'm not.
Indeed. I'll tell you anyway. I've faced plenty of frightful things. But by far, the worst has been the presence of your company.
Is that so? I don't feel the same way. Your presence grants me the greatest joy.
Truly, what a sweet thing to say.
It's true. When I'm with you, I'm constantly getting confirmation that there's someone worse off than myself. When I see, I'm reminded that in this world, there's always someone less fortunate. I even begin to feel that I might be relatively blessed. You are truly a blessing. I'm afraid we shall have to part presently.
Do you plan on becoming a witch?
I do, and you must rejoice, dear sister, since once I become a witch, I will shower upon your torments a thousandfold greater.
Shouldn't you think through things which seem too good to be true often are so?
It doesn't matter, so long as I can escape this situation. I wouldn't mind jumping from the frying pan into the fire.
The fire is definitely what awaits you. True, if you become a witch, you join the demons in tormenting humans, but you pay for it later. Have you thought of what will happen when the horns of the heavens sound and the last day of judgment arrives?
As we stand, we burn in eternal flames. Can it get any worse?
It most certainly will. You will be tortured by the most vicious, violent means possible, beyond the imagination of any human being. So, do drop this nonsense. I'll speak with the devil in charge, on your behalf. I'll tell him my dear sister is withdrawn. I'll go to that.
Wait!
It's really no trouble. I understand it will be awkward for you to do this yourself at this point.
Sister dear, you prepared your curriculum with touch.
Fine, so you know, haha.
Why do you have to talk about the day of final judgment?
Having to swallow 666 nails, to have swallowed 665, and to be told I won't have to swallow the last one. For that, I would do anything. Even if I knew that the eternal damnation I'd be subjected to, the following day would be even more wretched than that which Judas Iscariot suffered. That's simply human nature.
What are you calling yourself human?
At any rate, I feel sorry for you. But I feel the one to serve the Lord Lucifer's side. Oh dear, that would mean that demon in charge of decapitation will be out of work. That's most unfortunate. Why don't you offer him your aid?
You jest. I'm the one meant to be a witch.
That would be quite impossible.
Why?
Because I excel at being evil. You are admittedly quite the villain. You are cunning like a weasel. I give you that. That is so. Admit it this time. Respect your sister's seniority.
But, Sister dear, what did you include in your CV?
What else? My address, name, age, and the list of the numerous evil deeds I committed while alive.
Approximately how many?
3.
So few! That's surprising for the villainous goneril. With you, it right even say without the designs. I trace back my memories to list every single sin I committed and ended with 1,001. So we, how surprisingly few.
Quality over quantity, I would say. Or rather, it's about, how should I put it? How incendiary the sins are. They are explosives. There's no point in fastidiously scraping together all those trivial things.
Sister dear, I wonder if you remember
What?
our mother.
What about?
When we were children, we would often visit at holiday home.
So we did. The one in Bath, it was mansion. built on a hill, known as the remains of Rome. In the backyard there was an old well, said to have been dug by the Romans.
Our mother fell into that well and died.
I know. So what of it? You're not going to tell me you killed her?
I am.
Ha ha! Just not.
It's true.
You lie. It was an accident. When Mother went to the holiday home, she used to sit on the ledge of the well and enjoy the cool of the evening under the large oak tree. The marble stone work of the well was cool and comforting. She must have fallen asleep or had a sudden bout of anemia.
You wrong. It was suicide, and I was the cause. So I might as well have been directly murdered.
What do you mean?
You must remember that Jim's father gave us. He gave one to each of us.
Fine too. Mine was a sapphire, the color of the deep sea, and yours was.
An emerald, the purest green of a kingfisher's feather. Cordelia, a blood red fruit. And mine, a diamond the size of quail's egg.
It was truly enormous, larger than the droppings of the deer we had at home.
What an odd thing to compare it to.
I'll make whatever comparison I choose.
I stole it. I stole it and threw it in the well. I can't remember why I did such a thing, but that has to be why Mother threw herself into the well. Father gave all of us the gems, saying it was proof of his love for his family, and telling us to treasure it for the rest of our lives. It's no wonder Mother became sick with worry, thinking she had lost it. That's why it's my fault. When Mother died, I was terrified, and I continued to suffer long after that. But as things stand, I'm glad through and through that I killed Mother. I'd say it pays to commit murder no matter the cost.
You have it all wrong.
What do I have wrong?
I was the one who had you steal the diamond from Mother Julie Fox. I was the one who indeed moved you into doing this.
You lie. That can't be true.
You just forgot to. You're still young, so I'm not surprised. I planned it all and had my little sister carry out the plan. If it had all come to light, I would have been able to put the blame on you. Being older means being that much more cunning, wouldn't you say?
Then tell me this. Why did you have me do this?
Why? I don't remember. It must just have been to amuse myself. Anyway, to kill, for amusement, the mama who gave birth to you. You have to admit, it's impressive, even incarnate.
I was the one who actually stole the gem. Don't forget that.
Well, now we shall eventually learn which one of us makes the worst impression.
Huh?
How now?
What?
The bell hasn't told you.
I'm Ryunosuke Kimura, Director, Theatre Company Kakusinkan. Today, first, I would like to introduce to you a short performance of Hamlet's fourth soliloquy, translated by Ms. Kazuko Matsuoka, and performed by the actress Ms. Ann Arita.
生きてこうあるか、消えてなくなるか、それが問題だ。どちらが惜しい態度だろう。闇雲な運命の矢玉を心の内でひたすら耐え忍ぶか、観覧の海に刃を向け、それにとどめを刺すか。死ぬ、眠る、それだけのことだ。眠れば心の痛みにも、肉体が受け継ぐ無数の苦しみにもけりがつく。それこそ願ってもない結末だ。死ぬ、眠る、眠ればきっと夢を見る。そう、厄介なのはそこだ。人生のしがらみを振り捨ててて、死という眠りの中でどんな夢を見るかわからない。だから二の足を踏まずにいられない。それを考えるなら、辛い人生を長引かせてしまう。でなければ、世間が鞭打つあだきを一体誰が耐えるだろう。権力者の迫害が存在のものの傲慢ぶり、報われない恋の苦しみ、優れた人物が耐え忍ぶクズどもの蔑み、探検で一月、我と我が手で全てが生産できるというのに。苦労ばかりの人生の思いを歯を食いしばり、汗水垂らして誰が耐えてくれる。ただ死後に来るものが怖いから。旅立った者は二度と戻ってこない未知の国。その恐怖に決意は揺らいで、見ず知らずのあの世の苦難に飛び込む夜、馴染んだこの世の姿に甘んじようと思わんで、こうして意識の働きは我々全てを臆病にする。こうして決意の本来の血の色は青ざめた物思いの色に染まってしまう。そのため乗るか反るかの大事業、潮時を失い実行に至らず終わるのです。
Next, we will present to you a short reading of an adaptation of Hamlet that I wrote, Hamlet to Shibuya. I introduced an actual terrorist attack as a motif to write about Shakespeare and terrorism in the world today. The character Shibuya, a young man who stages the performance of Hamlet in the middle of the Shibuya crossing, and Akihabara, who attempts a terrorist attack by crashing a truck into the streets of Akihabara, will be led by the actor Yudaima Iwasaki. The young woman called by the name Ophelia will be led by Dion Yanagimoto.
The noise of a truck and light.
I remember the scene from that time. I remember the wrinkles in the corners of the eyes of someone who was bleeding in front of me. I remember the sensation of plunging the knife into flesh. I remember the terrible darkness in the back of the eyes that pleaded with me. No, not me. I couldn't move my legs and I couldn't stop shaking. But everything had already been put in motion. I had already reached a point I could no longer come back from. My untarnished revenge was in progress. This place was now not like any space in the world, emptier than outer space. Yet it was more real than anywhere else on earth. Each time I cut someone down, I was lost. I was no longer myself. There must have been butchered people behind me, but I couldn't look back. I told myself, this is theater. Theater. Like the play Hamlet carved into the nobles. I'm Hamlet. I'm performing Hamlet in the middle of this crossing. It was then I realized I had to stop this play. Were Akihabara's deeds actually my own? Yes, I asked myself that. I might have been Akihabara myself. While performing on the crossing, I had no choice but to run through the unresponsive audience and cry out, "Give over the play! Give over the play! Give over the play!"
That day, I'd gone to buy a bag for my boyfriend in return for a ring he'd given me. He always had lots of books crammed into his bag, so I wanted to buy him a big, strong new one as a present, but one that looked cool. I found something that fit, and thinking it wasn't quite enough, I thought I'd hide some music from my favorite band inside it. I was sure he would be surprised. I wandered about the busy streets, daydreaming about it.
Another person appeared in front of me. I raised my arm. "Give over the play! Give over the play!" I tried to put a break on it. I tried to put a break on his madness that was spilling out. I could no longer stop myself. I was no longer myself. The spirit of my father was the devil. I'd been tricked by the devil. "I'm begging you, stop the show!" My heart was controlling my body. I have to stop right now. I have to stop the play. I wasn't Hamlet. I was Fortinbras. Fortinbras who came into another country in his dirty boots and ruined everything. Stop the play!
Akihabara and Ophelia meet. Akihabara goes to stop her. Shibuya tries to stop it. Their eyes meet. But Akihabara knocks Shibuya over and stops Ophelia.
I am you, and you are me. Since Akihabara and Shibuya are both part of Tokyo, forgive me. Forgive me. I can't forgive myself. But since you are my other self, please at least forgive me in your voice. Forgive me. I can't forgive you. Of course, I can't be forgiven.
The sound of sirens comes close. An announcement that the criminal is on the run. The police enter and blow whistles. They say things like, "Stop the play. Did you get permission to put on a performance here?" The chorus, they gather up the small props and run. Shibuya is left on his own.
While watching my own play, what the hell did I see?
Shibuya opens his hands, and there is warm blood on them. He is handcuffed by the police.
Microphone is necessary. How would you do this? I am the director of the Shakespeare Company in Japan, Kazuki Shimotate. And today's special guest is Mr. Gerald from Scotland. That's right. Shall we sit? Yes. New Romeo and Juliet. Time is 1960s. The place is Spa in Tohoku. So today we shall focus upon one scene. In the original, Friar Lawrence plays with Romeo. But here, in the Spa, I thought there will be no Catholic priest in the Spa. So, Matagi, Hunter. But I think I have to explain about it a little bit. Why I came across the idea of Matagi. One day I was struggling with Matagi. No. Friar Lawrence. But one morning I got a flyer from somewhere. It said, why don't you go to the snowy mountain with Matagi? Oh. So the number was limited to 5. And I found myself one day at the station of Akihabara in Yamagata Prefecture. I was only one attendant with Matagi. We spent whole day together, wonderful day. All words today you would hear are from him. So, Mr. Yohei speaks the lines of Matagi in Scottish. And I shall read the lines of Sankichi, who is a spa attendant, very old, hard of hearing, and a very good friend of Matagi. And there, while we are talking about tsunami, who took away Matagi's mother, after Sankichi, the old man, left the room, Romeo appeared. Young Romeo, I wrote it. And Matagi compared Romeo to bear in heat because Romeo was so excited about it. Anyway, that's it. Matagi I met there was very horny. Very good character. So, since Sensei cannot read Japanese, I have to give him a cue. It's very Shakespearean, actually. You can understand it. I say, or something. Then he will say the lines. Okay? Shall we start? 危ねえやられるとこだったら、なんだ。
Really? It could have been a funeral, but no. But, well, it's been like I've been living on borrowed time since I was 3. So, I have lived much longer than expected, no matter when I die.
なんだって
Then again, how many times I've told you. You always ask me, what happened? Didn't you?
でも、なんだっけ
With that catastrophic earthquake, you can, the mountain before me even collapsed like it had turned to water, like the mountain became the sea. My dad was in Sendai and survived, but my mom hung her 3-year-old buried from the big beech tree and was washed away.
なんだ。オラホの海は山水に盛り上がってな。水は土砂水だった。オラは小学校さいだっけが友達みんな津波さ持って帰りが。
That's right, Sanki. You are from Shizugawa, ain't you? Have you remembered?
ぼんやりな。
It's not a bad thing to have your mouth shut off and your mind go foggy. Can't get on living without forgetting.
忘れてはダメだ。まだ持って帰ろう。
So you are able to speak words of wisdom new and again.
で、その3つの野郎子、死んだのか
Still lives. I'm that bear.
いやー、よかった。生きてたな。ロミオね。おっさん、いたすか誰だ
We're here. It's Romeo.
ベロナ旅館
Aye.
We have been quite quite faithful to the pronoun of original Shakespeare. So the name of the inn is Verona Inn. And for example, nurse is onasu, eggplant. Key was the sort of likeliness and plausibility. Sorry, we shall come back. ベロナ旅館のか。
Aye.
おはようございます。
You're up right early, ain't you?
で、俺はそろそろおいでますから。
Take some bear meat stew with you. It's tidy with all that gamey dust taken.
いつも悪いね。で、また来っから。どうも。
Take care.
これ、修学旅行のお土産です。
Thank you. So where did you go?
ちょっと年越しっていうかな。北海道。
Ah, and how was it?
でっけ。道も越えなく、バイオリンでっけ。空もでっけ。そして空気がうめえ。
Aye.
札幌のすすきので味噌ラーメン食った。うめかった。
Was it? And are you visiting me this early to talk about ramen noodles? You didn't sleep last night, did you?
なんでもかったでしょ。
Look in the mirror. You've got rings under your ears.
No.
You've been with a lass.
No. Still.
Out of breath and a glare deep in your ear.
わかんないですか。
How many years do you think I've observed bears in heat?
俺熊でねえよ。
Is it Rosako?
違う。あれはもう違う。
What? Nay, even bears are so fickle.
違うんだけど、今度は本気なんだ。
Such a heartbreaker you are.
おんさん、まず聞いてください。
You've brought me a souvenir, so I listen.
国際観光ホテルベローナのカフジュリさんって知ってますか？
Of course I do. She's the only child and in junior high.
仙台の私立中学校に越境入学してるんですね。
School for rich lasses. What about her? You ain't saying.
不思議な。
What do you mean you've fallen in love with her? You wait till just knew was curled up in the corner there, sighing and weeping as you cried out the name, Rosako, Rosako. Unbelievable.
だから違うんだって、今度は本当なんだって。
Stand there and splash some water on your face.
次になったもん。
Unbelievable.
本当に心底すぎになった。
But you realize that here in Verona hot springs, from the Taisho and the Meiji periods, and even as far back as the Edo period, your Monta clan and the Kafus, of which she's the only child, have gotten along way better than cats and dogs.
だから何したって。
You wouldn't understand. Grown-ups have their reasons.
そんなのわかんねえよ。
Romeo.
だから大人にはなりたくない。
Stop your havering, you dafty.
おんちゃん、俺は言ってくる。俺はバカだよ。でもな、おんちゃん、俺ずっと何のためにいたかわかんねえな。学校は面白くねえし、勉強も大した好きでねえのに、なして大学生行かなきゃいけねえんだべって。父さんは、ともかく大学生行けっていうだけだし、母さんは、あんたは300年続いてる 名刀旅館ベローナの跡取りなんだから。それしか言わないですよ。俺は何しや？
Ye are the grandson of the previous Montague Guillemot and the son of the present Guillemot.
だよ。だから俺はロミオだ。ただのロミオだ。
Simply say ye.
んだ。少しでも本読めば、自分が誰なんだか、何やりてんだか、どこさ行ったらいいんだか、わかると思ってた。だがわからない。言葉は体の長さ保ってくるんだが、わからない。だが、あの人だ。各樹里さんが見た途端に分かったんだ。分かったような気がしたんだ。
You felt feelings of what rules life, but that's what's important in life. Truth manifests itself through chance.
真実は偶然を媒介として検証する。何でしょう。
Exactly what I said. You've been waiting all this time
待ってな。
for Judy.
樹里さんは
Probably the same for her.
なしてわかるんでし
It's like a mirror. People reflect people. You've touched Judy with the intensity of your feelings. That's why you're here. I've kept you since you were yay high, but have never seen you look so serious, so impressive. In the expression of your face, I see Judy's face.
ょう。で、何したらいいか。
The strife that's continued here in the town of Verona, of the Atari Hot Spring District for yonks, even yont our imagination. When will bring about its end could be the twin of you.
That's good. Thank you very much.
So please give another very warm round of applause for Hiro-san, Shimura-sensei, Iwasaki-san, Yanagimoto-san, Arita-san, and Murakami-sensei. We'll now move on to the roundtable part of the session with the founders of the three theater companies. We scheduled this whole session to end at 5:30, but that was because we were planning to have this outdoors, and we thought it would be a bit tiring for you to be sitting out in the sun for an hour and a half. So we're going to go on for maybe another extra half an hour. If you need to leave, please feel free to do so. But there will be a Q&A that will be opened up to the floor at the end, so hopefully that will entice you to stay a little bit longer. And so we have Edo-san, we have Shimura-sensei, we have Kimura Inosuke-san, Hono Miyake-sensei from Meiji University, and I will be facilitating the discussion.
Okay, first, could we focus on the benefits and disadvantages of using a Japanese translation to stage Shakespeare? Kimura-san, what has gone into your decision to use Matsuoka Kazuko's translation?
Hi. I will answer this question from two perspectives. One is why I first decided to use Matsuoka-san's translation, and the second is why I continue to use Matoka-san's translation in my productions now. The former reason is simple. I found Matoka-san's determination to complete translating all of Shakespeare's works as a woman fascinating in itself. I apologize if this strikes any of you like a gender discrimination. To fully explain this, I must share with you my experience as an actor before I became a director. For 5 years, I performed Shakespeare in a company that uses Odashima-san's translations. Through this exceptional experience of tackling Odashima Shakespeare's poetic rhythm, resonance, and jaunty touch with all my heart and soul, I was greatly able to advance as an actor. But one day, when I was sitting in the seat of Hayuza Theater, watching the rehearsals of Hermia's scene in A Midsummer Night's Dream, I suddenly felt something was odd. It was really an unexpected realization. I sensed this looming fog-like uneasiness, like the actress on stage was trapped in anachronistic values several decades old. Possibly the male-dominated setting of Shakespeare's play made me feel that way, but at the time, I couldn't find the words to describe that feeling, and the uncomfortableness just stuck to me. Then several years later, when I finally decided to direct the Shakespeare play, I instinctively thought of using Matoka-san's translation. I believe that her determination to confront Shakespeare head-on as a female translator would help unleash the male-dominated world of Shakespeare into new horizons. So then, I went on to read several of her translations and thought, how vast her sky is. With her translations, maybe I can smoothly travel back and forth between the world of Shakespeare in the early 1600s and the world of present-day Tokyo for 450 years later. Thus, I used Matoka-san's translation in my ambition attempt to direct King Lear in my 20s, which I've recently been working on again in my 30s. Okay? And to this day, I still continue to use Matoka-san's translations for my productions. There are many outstanding features in Matoka-san's translations, but what captures me the most is the artistic blank space embedded in her works. I believe this is attributed to the various choices made by the translator to deliver the literature directly to the reader's physical senses as opposed to their rational mind. For example, the prosody, definition, metaphor, the cultural background of the piece, the nuance of the wording in Japanese, the resonance of each postpositional particle, the images associated with the sound of the words, how contemporary Japanese people may encounter Shakespeare. All these elements are carefully contemplated from various angles before the choices are made. And underlying these choices is Matoka-san's consistent trust in the readers the actors and the directors. As a result, the completed translations by Matoka-san incorporate an artistic blank space for the readers to imagine and create within, allowing the readers to take initiative in exploring the world of Shakespeare for themselves, instead of just accepting what is presented by the translator. I believe that this ability to create an artistic blank space in one's works is a crucial innate quality of Shakespeare, and also of any outstanding artist. In this blank space is where imagination dwells. This blank space is where we can revive inanimate imaginations. In light of that, Matoka-san's translation consists of a rich text that entrusts the lectors and actors with many free space to work on when creating Shakespeare performance.
We spoke about this extensively before, but I think a lot of the things that you said about the artistic blank space of the translation, these are things that you value very much, and that's why you translate your own, create your own translations. At the beginning of your career, you used Tsubochi's translations to stage Romeo and Juliet and Twelfth Night. So before talking about your views about translating the text yourself, could you respond a little bit to maybe what Kino-san said about Matsuoka's text, and have you ever considered using her text or any other text other than Tsubochi's?
The reason why I use Tsubochi's and his translation is that, first of all, the level of Japanese was so high and it was so beautiful. And depending on the play you choose, it was just fit for me. Well, of course, the words were how they talk like two gentlemen of Verona. They were like Meiji students talking to each other. And sometimes I found that the translation wasn't quite right, maybe because of the time that he translated it. But then I really liked the rhythm and the profoundness, and so I tried twice using Tsubochi's translation. And the actors all suffered very much because it was very difficult. It doesn't go straight. You have to really go around saying it. But then after doing that, I knew that I couldn't just go on just using Tsubochi-san's translation because the actors were tired and the audience also found it that it's a bit old and maybe good to see it once in your life, but not all the time. So I decided I must start doing it in another way. And I was in the Gucci-san's company for a few years, and at that time it was, of course, Odashima-san's translation. And when I was a student, I went to Zhanjiang every week to see his production. And that was very shocking, and I liked it very much. But words and language gets old, and sometimes it sounds very stale, and you don't think that it is not right to use kind of way to present the scene. And sometimes I know that he liked puns and a lot of funny way of saying things very much. And I'm not saying because he's not in this room now, but I really respect his works. But then sometimes I think he is pulled very much to that side of making jokes or fun and not describing the character. And so when I was working with one English director, I often was asked, why are the other actors laughing at this scene. And then I said, because it is translated this way. And then she said, no, it shouldn't be like that, because it's a scene to focus on the character of so and so, and this shouldn't be like this way. But then if you want to change it, then you have to go to the translator and then explain why, and then you have to get the permission, and that's kind of troublesome. So the main reason why I started doing it with my own translation is because I wanted to translate it as I want to direct it. And that's very simple. And according to the play you take, like if it's a historical play, then I will use quite difficult words to use, and sometimes it gets very 難しい感じ. But then if it's like a folk tale, like Pericles, then I will choose a very simple language that even elementary school students will understand. And Japanese language is very, I think, unique that the words you use decide the character so much. Like in Romeo and Juliet, when Juliet says to Romeo after spending a night, she says, will thou be gone? Well, that is English. And then you can direct the way you want, how Juliet wants to be. But then if you translate it into Japanese, Tsubochi used Inodoya, word that you won't use now. It's not more than Japanese now, but it was very beautiful. And what if the other translation, and Iteshimau no desu ka? It's a very straightforward, plain. What if JK, junior high school student now says, マジ言っちゃうの? And that decides very much the character of Juliet. And that was why, I mean, I was translating and I was also at the time directing how I want the characters to be.
Thank you. So I think what you're saying very much corresponds to what Kimura-san said. So Kimura-san, you talked about artistic blank space. I think the ultimate maybe form of artistic blank space is to create your own translations. Have you ever considered doing that yourself?
Japanese. 書かれているテキストが自分と違うというところが私は面白い、演出家としては。ですから松岡さんとか他の方の翻訳者の思想がそこにあり、シェイクスピアの思想がそこにあり、そこと対話しながら新しいものを作るというのが好きなので、自分で翻訳しようというところは考えたことがなかったです。ですが、そうやってシェイクスピアと翻訳して新しいテキストを作るというのはすごく面白そうだなというふうには思います。はい。
Yes, now you know why I'm sitting here. He can speak English fairly, but he's just not too confident. Okay, so he thinks that the difference of the text, the distance of the text that's written from us or the audience is where he finds it interesting. And so when he's creating the performance, he's sort of discoursing with Shakespeare and Matoka-san's way of thinking, and the mixture is where it gets interesting. So he's never thought of actually trying to translate by himself. But he respects that Edo-san trying to work that way as well.
Thank you very much.
Shimodata Sensei, you also create your own translations in the Tohoku dialect. Could you talk about the decisions and processes involved? And I'm curious to know how Japanese playwright Kinoshita Junji is an inspiration for your translation.
Yes. My first Shakespeare was reading Japanese Kinoshita. retreat. And I was just, well, first lover. So inexplicable. Well, I don't think I'm going to do this session saying just I love Shakespeare, I love Kinoshita. That's why he gave me a huge impact. Kinoshita led me to Showa. And the reason why that I was fascinated by his works was he kept saying that intrinsic rhythm within Shakespeare. Because when we translate Shakespeare, as you know, we lose everything, almost everything, because the sound is essential to Shakespeare. Rhythm, intonation, and everything. But intrinsic rhythm is there, he said. Three important keywords for him and for me was warmth, vitality, and sensuality. Before I jumped into sort of practical work, my mind was instinct with those words. Full of Kinoshita, everything, and Showa. Around 1992. But when I met the person who gave me a huge impact in England, whose name was Cicely Berry, at the Royal Shakespeare Company, who is a mentor of mine, actually. She kept saying that in the business, approached or spoke English more sensually, as if eating food. So speak the lines as if you eat. That was her suggestion. So stress was upon masculinity of the words. Then my mind, filled with Kinoshita's idea, resounded. Those two resounded. Kinoshita and Cicely. I thought that Kinoshita insisted that words, lines spoken, have to be through blood and flesh, not just the mind. So don't think of Shakespeare intellectually, because almost everything is lost in translation. There's no translation in Shakespeare, just adaptation. She insisted. And I believe that Kinoshita too, because as you, it's very famously said was by Peter Brook when he talked about Shakespeare in Prague, where I was not there. He was asked when he was working in Paris, Mr. Brook, what do you think you lose when you do Shakespeare in French? He said, Englishmen hurt and lose, but not Shakespeare. So he knew the essence of Shakespeare, and he thought that he can change whatever he did. Shakespeare, the core of Shakespeare remains. So my approach to Shakespeare came from, to be honest, from uneasiness, which I felt from Jan's Davidson theatre. When I heard Shakespeare speak in, not written, in Japanese, since I spoke broad talk, then I could not accept it. I felt awkward, uneasy, that uneasiness, that awkwardness was my great trigger. That I have to do myself, and I have to read by myself Shakespeare in the original. And I felt that in that dialect, vernacular language, that sensuality, vitality, warmth are to be valued. That's all.
It's very fascinating. I'd like to ask Hima-san and Edo-san, I think Sir Shimate was speaking about how the one thing that you can retain in translated Shakespeare is the sensuality and the warmth and vitality of the language. In your views, when you perform or you translate Shakespeare, what is the one thing that you hope to retain of Shakespeare? Both of you, yes.
Translating something is to choose, and then you have to decide what to choose that time. And if you want laughter, or do you want audience to see the character, or do you want to express the background of the culture? And in Japan, Japanese audience don't know about Christianity and Greek myth. So it's difficult to, you cannot explain everything in a few lines about what lies behind all these things. And so it depends upon the scene and the play itself. Which one to choosing is very tiring job every time, and but you have to make a choice every time. Sorry, so it's not very simple. struggling every 10 lines or 20 lines, and well, love lines are easier than all those when you are making like. Nurse and Mercutio and those kind of ones are very difficult. You have to have the rhythm, and then you have to kind of play around, and also as you like it, like the whose lines are very difficult to translate, and you cannot just leave it and do the other scene. You get stuck there every time.
What about you?
日本語で、まず、翻訳されたシェイクスピアの言葉は、シェイクスピアニーズというか、ジャパニーズ、シェイクスピアニーズのような新しいアートの言語だと私は思っていて、おそらくシェイクスピアの持っていたリズムとかとは違うけれども、日本語だからこそ出る詩的な響きやリズムがある。でそれをまず翻訳者のそれを大切にしたいということと、もう一つはシェイクスピアのテキストを、一生懸命原文でもこういろんな人の力を研究も含めて使ってシェイクスピアが何を当時考えていたのかを、推測して、もしもシェイクスピアの脳みそが今ここにもあって、それに現代のデータを入力したときにどんなマクベスを上演するのか、どんなハムレットを上演するのかなどを考えた上で、演劇のあらゆる要素、視覚的、聴覚的、あるいはフィジカル、さまざまな仕掛けを使ってそれをお客さんに伝えていくということを、翻訳というもうインポッシブルなことではあるけどもやりたいというふうに常々思っています。
Yes, as far as the translation is concerned, I've been sticking with sort of original Shakespeare. But in Shakespeare, as you all know, long verse, I am a pentameter, is a vital. But it's impossible to translate in flight. that most important element into Japanese. Why? Because blank verse has a lot of hints of stage direction. But if we get rid of that, it's desperate, you know. So, of course, from that point, we can't talk anything. But we should be focusing upon that point. And wait on that very carefully. We still can be with that verse, because there are many hints. Though for actors, the British actors, it is very hard to handle those lines. But when they get over the lines, they can find how to act, how to speak them. So we can cope with that always. We shouldn't leave those things behind when we do Shakespeare in Japanese.
I'm just going to pick up on translation for Kimura. And he thinks that the translated Shakespeare plays translated into Japanese is sort of like not even Japanese, it's like Shakespeare means a different artistic language and with rhythm of its own, especially when he's talking about Matoka translations, I think. So, and when he creates the performance, he thinks of it as Shakespeare means and he follows that rhythm that translated text has. And also he looks at the original English version that was written by Shakespeare. And what he tries to imagine as a director is imagine that Shakespeare's brain is sort of here in this time, like 2022, and input data from this era into his brain. Then what would Shakespeare try to do here? And how would he think? How would he try to deliver this scene to the audience? And he tries to convey that through visual and audio, and also through the actors' bodies, as different kinds of expressions to try to reach to the audience. It's something that you can only imagine that Shakespeare might do, but that's what he tries to consider as most important when he's directing plays.
Thank you. I think we'll open up the questions to the floor now, and you're welcome to ask any of the directors or all three of the directors questions, or the performers are still here as well, so if you'd like to ask the performers anything, you're very welcome to do that as well.
Super as Hamlet says, words. Shakespeare's drama is full of words.
Yeah.
And we Japanese are more keen on blank space.
Yeah.
Like Japanese painting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of blank space.
Yeah.
So to me, translated Shakespeare drama in Japanese is very awkward because so many words. And actors are talking very rapidly to fill the context.
Yeah.
But it's not natural.
Yeah.
So how do you manage to emphasize this blank, the sensitivity of blank in the translation? What do you think?
In the text, as you know, there is some sort of shape of the language, you know. And when I heard Deguchi Odazuma Shakespeare spoken at Janjan, that was Hamlet actually. To be or not to be as a person, to make a space or whatever. I said I felt awkward. Still, despite that space and things blank, I thought that in Tohoku, some people could be as talkative as Hamlet in dialects, but not in standard Japanese. So we have language equivalent to that Shakespeare. But how to transform in Hamlet is a key. Hamlet talks too much. Too much. When I worked at the Globe Theatre, Giles Block, my mentor, asked him, why is he talking too much, so long? And he said, he wants to be changed. That's very persuasive. He wants to be different from there. That's very important interpretation. Okay. May not be the proper answer to Professor Onishi.
So the question came from Dr. Onishi of International Christian University. Any other questions?
I'm Kyoko Matsuyama from Mazda Women's University. I have a question, especially about translating the visibility of the plays. It's a 16th century, 17th century play, but when it is translated into Japanese, I think it's usually done in the translator's contemporary words. How do you manage that time difference? Because if it's the content in English, everyone notices that it's an old language. It's something that is very far from the time that you're living now. But when it's translated, most of the times, I'm not sure about other languages, but in Japanese, it's in your time. It's in the 20th century, it's in the 21st century language. How do you manage that time difference? Sorry to sweat everyone.
Well, first I decide that what age the play takes place, and according to that I decide what kind of language level I use. And so, well, it won't be like Edo Ben or Edo era, but somewhere, not modern, but somewhere between 1800 and 1900, and maybe very, it's not now, but it's not very old. And so I decide the stage and the dress also. So I make it that kind of time setting because that's more easier to do. If I set it in modern setting, a lot of other productions are doing it, and I have to put in more social elements or historical things, and I have to change a lot. But if I make it some ambiguous time, then I will be able to make the play closer to Shakespeare. That's what I think. I mean, what Shakespeare tried to write in that. So, Japanese language is what within my ability. So it's not very like during the Heian period or very old. Or sometimes I try to make it modern, but that's just for one scene. Otherwise, it's quite dangerous. Like I thought of doing it in Osaka dialect, but that's too strong, and then decides the whole play in that way. So I cannot use dialect myself. So I always admire Shimoda-san's company that they are doing it.
But I think, as I told you before, that written translation has to be discussed separately from the spoken text. And if I speak about it based upon that, Shakespeare is contemporary. You know. So translation is different from the text which could be used on the stage.
when we do Shakespeare on stage, we have to be always aware of when it is, where you are, who you are. Those identity is pithy and vital. So this concept would solve, I think, all the problems. Where you are, when it is, who you are. Those, I say, 3 golden rules of staging Shakespeare. Without that sense, it's rubbish. I think any play is rubbish. Sorry.
はい、日本語で、翻訳されると現代語になりますから、それでもテーマが、主従関係とか昔の人間類と違ったもっと思想を伝えたいときは、最近だと私は例えば伝統芸能とかの三味線の音とか義太夫とか日本の中でも能ですとかそういったものをより際立たせたいときはそういった身体を持っている人や音色を使ってシェイクスピアの高貴さというかクラシックなところを出したいなっていうふうにやったりします。そういう意味で言うとシーンによってケースバイケースでその距離感を測ってやっているというのがあります。
So, when, of course, the translations are using contemporary Japanese words. So, when he wants to convey an image of a sort of classic or some way of thinking that is distinct from our contemporary peers, he recently started to use traditional arts, Japanese traditional arts, especially music and also physical expressions, like no theater and no theater. Sometimes he's been collaborating with recently, and to sort of fill in the classic sort of it's difficult to word, but high class sort of image of Shakespeare. It's when you make it too contemporary and the physicality is too contemporary, it gets sort of shallow. So he tries to bring that to a high level by using these traditional styles. But it's by scene, and you can't really use the same method throughout the show.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid we've run out of time, so I think the directors and the forums will be around for a little bit longer, so if you have any further questions, you can move up to them directly. So please give them another shot. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow morning for Dr. Jessica Chiba's plenary. And home and images. Start how to work with you before you leave.